Singapore is home to some of the world's largest corporations. Multinational corporations have been flocking to the island nation for decades. These have all helped make Singapore what it is today, a nation loved by American, Chinese, Japanese, European companies. However, what does not seem to be very much appreciated are Singapore's own local companies. The country has bolstered some of the world's biggest businesses, the three major banking giants which are renowned globally, known as the DBS Group, OCBC Bank, and UOB. It also has its own technology giants such as Sea Limited and Grab. They also have their own telecommunications company known as Singtel, which owns a vast amount of assets globally. They have it all in every industry. Yet, just how big are these corporations compared to other global firms? Well, to understand this, we must first understand the basics. Let's first start with Singapore's largest corporation known as DBS Group. We say DBS Group is the largest business because of its market capitalization, also known for its value. DBS Group, as of the time of writing, is valued at $67 billion. This makes DBS Group the 267th largest corporation globally. Market capitalization is important because it determines just how valuable a company is, and it will help us understand whether DBS Group is a globally big firm or a mere small business in an island nation. Secondly, we must also understand revenues or sales. It is what a company makes from selling its products or services. DBS Group in 2023 reported revenues of over $15 billion, a huge increase from $7.2 billion in 2023. Of the $15 billion in revenue, they also make net profit from them, meaning what they make after subtracting all the costs. In 2023, it is over $8.5 billion, a substantial amount. Finally, let's discuss assets. Assets are what corporations own. In DBS Group's case, this can be through financial assets such as cash. It can be loans like those extended to individuals or businesses. It can also be property or equipment, such as the bank's offices. In 2023, it is about $560 billion, which is a massive figure. To see a quick glimpse of who DBS Group might be compared with, let's take a look at both regional and international banking companies. The world's largest bank is none other than JP Morgan Chase, and with a market cap of $548 billion, the company already far outpaces DBS Group. But JP Morgan Chase is quite the outlier, as India's HDFC Bank, one of the country's largest corporations, is valued at $139 billion. However, its revenues aren't that far off from DBS Group with $20.3 billion, and its assets are $466 billion, lower than DBS Group's $560 billion. This comparison shows how massive DBS Group really is. For a company sitting in a very tiny country yet has a larger asset than HDFC Bank of India, shows how big Singaporean banks are. Even if you compare one of Indonesia's largest banks, known as Bank Rakyat Indonesia, you can also see the same story. Bank Rakyat Indonesia has a market cap of $59 billion, just lower than DBS Group by a few billion. Its revenues are at $10.9 billion, and its assets are just $127 billion, which are far, far lower than DBS Group. Now that we have a clear understanding of what figures to look at, we can see how large Singapore's other businesses are. The second corporation that is of interest in many Singaporeans is Sea Limited. Sea Limited may not be a name known to all, but it is the corporation that owns Shopee, SeaMoney, Garena, and even Singaporean football club Lion City Sailors FC. What's interesting about Sea Limited is that it used to be one of the world's largest corporations by market capitalization. In November of 2021, Sea Limited was valued at over $197 billion. Today, being a company that is roughly $200 billion will lead you in the top 60 largest corporations globally, sitting alongside businesses like Disney, McDonald's, General Electric, Intel, IBM, and the like. However, the story became bleak for Sea Limited. The stock market, along with unfavorable financial reports from the company, led led Sea Limited to drop in market value. Today, Sea Limited is worth just $33 billion, making them the 576th largest corporation globally, and a huge difference to what it once was. It's as if global investors lost trust in Sea Limited, but market valuation is just one part of the story. The other part is revenues, and this can be the part that led to Sea Limited's valuation downfall. In 2023, Sea Limited reported revenues of $12.9 billion, a huge increase from 2017 when it only had $400 million. However, the story hasn't really been bright since 2022. That year, the company reported revenues of over $12.45 billion, indicating that for a whole year, Sea Limited grew its sales by just $500 million. That is quite disappointing, especially compared to other Singaporean businesses. DBS Group, for instance, grew its revenue from $11.88 billion in 2022 to over $15 billion in 2023. Although that doesn't really tell all the story, it does show at least one side of it. The next is Sea Limited's assets. Sea Limited in 2023 has assets of about $18 billion. Comparing Sea Limited to other technology companies, however, is already a bad idea. But one can be optimistic if we just take a look at companies like Spotify, a company with a market value of $50 billion, or eBay at $27 billion. South Korea's Naver is also valued at just $21 billion. Why has this been the case, you might wonder? Well, Sea Limited should have a big potential and should always see big growth. It is situated in one of the world's fastest growing regions, Southeast Asia. It is also one of the only few e-commerce companies in the region. The dominant players are only Shopee and Lazada. Others are either small or just focused on one country. So why did Sea Limited's growth falter? Well, it's actually not difficult to explain. You see, one of Sea Limited's businesses is its digital entertainment segment, or also known as Garena, which hosts the application of Free Fire. The digital entertainment segment Free Fire has been slowing down. In the first quarter of 2023, their digital entertainment reported revenues of $539 million, but by the first quarter of 2024, this fell to $458 million. In contrast, its e-commerce has increased year over year from $2.1 billion to $2.7 billion in revenues. Put it simply, its other businesses are slowing the entire company down, but its e-commerce business is still growing strong. Now let's discuss the third company, Singtel. Singtel is Singapore's famous telecommunication company. It has subsidiaries and regional associates such as Optus, Airtel, AIS, Globe, and Telkomsel. Singtel's market capitalization is about $30 billion, making them the 616th largest corporation globally. And like Sea Limited, it has experienced a decline over the past few years. Its highest in the past decade was about $53.4 billion in 2015. Its revenues, on the other hand, have also seen a decrease. In 2012, it had revenues of $14.8 billion, but come 2023, it's just about $12 billion. Its net income, on the other hand, is $1.1 billion. Its assets are about $18 billion. The telecommunications around the world, however, is quite large. Just take a look at T-Mobile US, which has a market value of over $192 billion. That far outshadows Singtel by margins. China Mobile, on the other hand, is valued at $186 billion. Singtel might just be larger than regional peers. One such is Telkom Indonesia with a valuation of $25 billion and Celcomdigi of Malaysia at $11 billion. Finally, let's discuss Singapore Airlines. Singapore Airlines is one of the world's largest airline companies. Globally, however, it's actually a small company compared to other industries. It only has a market capitalization of $14 billion, making them the 1,224th largest company in the entire world. Its revenues, on the other hand, is at $13.9 billion, of which its net income is $2.5 billion. Its assets are about $32 billion. Now let's compare Singapore Airlines to other major competitors, one of which is Delta Airlines, one of the largest U.S. airline companies. Delta Airlines is valued at $27.7 billion, has revenues of $58 billion, and a net income of $6.8 $8.4 billion. Its assets sit at $73 billion. In total, and according to the World Bank, the total market capitalization of all Singaporean companies sits at $619 billion, which is surprisingly smaller than what it was in 2017, when it was over $787 billion. So, all that being said, how big are Singapore's largest companies? They are big, especially compared to regional competitors, but against some of the world's largest companies, they are still small. Although, this will change as Southeast Asia is bound to become one of the world's largest economies in the near future, and Singapore is in a great position to benefit from the rise. But anyway, do let us know what you think. Thanks for watching.